She served coffee in silence. Nobody noticed her. A seal walked and looked around, then said 3 words to her black echo. Table 6. She stopped pouring, nodded once. 30 seconds later, screams erupted from table 6. A man was down, weapons scattered, neutralized in 2 moves. Restaurant staff stood frozen. The seal whispered, "She carries the code of a unit erased from all records." The diner sat near the SEAL training base, where soldiers often grabbed lunch. Between operations, the smell of bacon grease and coffee filled the air. Red vinyl booths lined the windows, a place where warriors became ordinary customers. Meet Reina Vasquez, 28 years old, long brown hair tied back neatly in a practical bun, part-time waitress, working afternoons. After her physical therapy shifts at the VA hospital, she wore a simple uniform, black slacks, white button-down shirt, coffee stained apron tied around her waist, name tag slightly crooked. Nobody knew anything about her past. Nobody bothered to ask. A group of SEALs came in regularly during lunch rush, young, enlisted men who thought teasing the waitress was entertainment. Fresh from training exercises full of testosterone and attitude, they called her Waitress Girl, never used her actual name despite it being printed clearly on her chest. One cocky SEAL with a fresh buzz cut said that she can barely carry that tray, let alone handle a weapon. His buddies laughed loud enough for her to hear. Intentionally cruel. Reina just smiled quietly, never reacted, never defended herself, never showed any sign that their words cut deep. They laughed, joking that if a real attack happened, she'd be the first to scream and run for cover, probably trip over her own feet. One added, "You wash out of basic training and end up serving coffee." Another one smirked, stirring sugar into his cup. The jokes were constant, relentless, cruel, in that casual way that groups of young men can be when they think someone is beneath them. Reina refilled their cups, took their orders for burgers and fries, said, "Thank you, and have a nice day," with the same calm voice every single time. She never complained to management, never reported them for harassment, never showed any sign that their words affected her whatsoever. To them, she was furniture, background noise, a person who existed solely to bring them food and disappear back into the kitchen during slow afternoons. She'd sit in the corner booth reading medical journals, studying anatomy diagrams and rehabilitation techniques, always learning something new. The other waitresses gossiped about customers, complained about tips, talked about their weekend plans. Reina listened to police scanners on her phone through earbuds, different priorities entirely. When military vehicles drove past the window, Humvees, transport trucks, personnel carriers, her eyes tracked them automatically. Old habits that she couldn't shake. I met Reina at a veterans conference. She declined a service recognition award, saying only, "Everyone has reasons to stay quiet. Mine is because my team isn't here anymore." That Tuesday afternoon, Reina was serving table 6 during the lunch rush. The diner buzzed with typical conversation, military personnel mixed with local civilians, construction workers, a few truckers passing through. Normal energy for a weekday. A stranger sat alone at table 6, mid-40s, well-dressed in a business suit that looked expensive but felt wrong for this neighborhood. He kept checking his watch every 30 seconds with nervous precision, eyes constantly scanning the room, like he was mapping exits and counting personnel. Something felt fundamentally wrong about him. Too alert for someone having a casual lunch, too focused on tactical details that normal customers would never notice. His positioning gave him clear sight lines to both entrances, the kitchen door, and the emergency exit. Professional surveillance. Reina recognized it immediately. Years of training made pattern recognition as automatic as breathing. The man ordered black coffee, didn't touch the menu, didn't make small talk, just sat there watching, waiting for something. Meanwhile, a senior SEAL entered the diner. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, 20-year veteran with combat ribbons and the kind of scars that told stories. He swept the room with practiced eyes, spotted Reina behind the counter, and immediately approached with purpose. He said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear, "Black echo, table 6." The code phrase hit Reina like a lightning bolt. Military emergency protocol, level red, classification. Her blood went cold. She froze for exactly 1 second. Muscle memory from a life she tried to leave behind, then nodded almost imperceptibly, set down her coffee pot with careful precision. Black echo meant immediate threat, armed and dangerous, lives at stake, no questions asked. Everything changed in that moment. The friendly waitress facade melted away like snow in sunlight. Her posture shifted from service industry professional to predatory hunter. Steps became calculated, every movement purposeful and deadly. She walked slowly toward table 6, her entire energy transforming other customers, continued their conversations, completely oblivious to the danger developing 15 feet away from their lunch plates. The stranger was now reaching inside his jacket. With deliberate motion, his hand moved toward his waistband in a movement she'd seen 1,000 times in hostile territories overseas, the telltale signs of someone drawing a concealed weapon. Raina's training kicked in: threat assessment, distance, calculation, angle of attack, civilian proximity, all processed in microseconds. The stranger's hand found something metallic, started to withdraw it slowly, trying to maintain the appearance of casual movement. But Raina could see the outline of a compact weapon taking shape beneath his jacket. Other diners kept eating their sandwiches, laughing at jokes, checking their phones, completely unaware that death was about to visit their quiet Tuesday lunch. That's when Raina struck with the precision of a surgical instrument. A swift hand sweep knocked the weapon from his grip before he could fully draw out the gun, a compact pistol with an extended magazine clattered across the floor like a deadly snake. One precise elbow strike to his solar plexus collapsed his diaphragm. He doubled over, gasping for air that wouldn't come. A perfectly executed hip throw sent him crashing into the adjacent table. Dishes, shattered chairs, overturned salt and pepper shakers exploded across the linoleum. The entire sequence took less than 5 seconds. Textbook disarmament and neutralization. The man collapsed unconscious before he hit the ground. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead where he'd struck the table edge. The entire diner erupted in chaos. Customers screamed and dove for cover. Staff members ducked behind counters. Someone called 911 with shaking hands, but Raina had already returned to the coffee station, picking up her pot, checking her order pad, acting like she just cleaned up a spilled drink instead of preventing a mess. Shooting, the senior SEAL who'd given the code approached her cautiously. "Ma'am, we need to talk immediately. My shift ends at 4, she replied calmly, refilling a shocked customer's cup. "This situation can't wait." "Then it'll have to," she continued, serving customers as police and base security arrived with sirens wailing. Chaos swirled around her like a tornado. News crews gathered outside. But Raina moved through it all with supernatural calm. She gave a brief statement to investigators, claims she reacted instinctively to a perceived threat, nothing more, no elaboration. The stranger was arrested and transported under heavy guard. Background check revealed extensive connections to domestic terrorist networks. Explosives were found in his car parked strategically outside. Detailed surveillance photos of the SEAL facility, patrol schedules, guard rotations, weak points in perimeter security. He'd been planning a coordinated attack for months. The diner was his final reconnaissance mission before executing a bombing that would have killed dozens of America's elite warriors. Raina had just prevented a mass casualty event, and she acted like it was part of her regular Tuesday routine. Raina was escorted to an interrogation room at the base under heavy security protocol. She didn't resist, didn't demand a lawyer, didn't make phone calls, just sat quietly with her hands folded, waiting patiently, like she had all the time in the world. The base commander, Colonel Martinez, a 30-year veteran, ordered a comprehensive fingerprint scan, standard procedure for anyone involved in a security incident of this magnitude. The computer screen flickered as databases searched, processing through military records, federal databases, international intelligence networks, then displayed results that made everyone in the room go completely silent. Phoenix 7 classified, Mia missing in action, presumed Kia. The blood drained from Colonel Martinez's face. His hands actually trembled as he read the screen. Phoenix 7 was a legendary special operations unit that operated behind enemy lines in Syria. Black budget, need to know clearance. Officially, they'd been wiped out in a coordinated ambush 3 years ago. All 7 members listed as KIA memorial services held with full honors, families notified with folded flags, but the woman sitting calmly across from them was very much alive. Colonel Martinez pulled classified files from a secure terminal, an old drone footage file from archived military intelligence, grainy black and white video from a rooftop in Damascus. Timestamp showed 1,423 hours, 3 years ago, a female operative dragging a wounded SEAL from a burning Humvee while under heavy automatic weapons, fire bullets, kicking up dirt around her boots. Explosions lighting up the screen. She moved with impossible calm through absolute hell. The footage was poor quality, taken from extreme distance through desert heat distortion. But when they ran facial recognition software comparing bone structure with Raina, 97% match. "How are you alive?" Colonel Martinez asked his voice, barely a whisper. Reina's voice was steady, matter of fact. I didn't follow the extraction order. I chose to stay behind so nobody else would die unnecessarily, she explained briefly, without emotion. After the ambush, communications were completely severed. Command presumed the entire team dead based on satellite imagery and lack of radio contact. She could have corrected the records, could have walked into any American embassy, and returned to service with full honors and back pay. Instead, she chose silence. Let the memorial stand, let the families have their closure, and their heroes. Why would you do that? Because some things matter more than setting the record straight. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez stepped forward, recognition dawning in his eyes, his voice cracked with emotion. You're the one who pulled me from that burning Humvee. I remember your voice. You kept saying, stay with me, soldier. Don't you dare quit on me. He thought she was dead for 3 years, had carried crushing survivors, guilt, wondering why he lived when his rescuer didn't. Had spoken at her memorial service to a room full of grieving families and fellow warriors. I gave a eulogy about your sacrifice, he whispered. Tears forming. Your parents were there, your sister. They were so proud. Good, Reina replied without emotion. They needed closure more than they needed the truth. Colonel Martinez opened a high-security vault with biometric locks, withdrew a red velvet box that had been waiting for 3 years. Inside was a Medal of Valor, the nation's second highest military honor, engraved on the back in precise letters, Reina Vasquez, Phoenix, 7 for actions above and beyond the call of duty. This was awarded posthumously. After reviewing classified footage of your actions, we never thought we'd present it to you alive. Reina stared at the medal for a long moment. I can't accept recognition for doing my job. 5 SEALs live because of your heroism, and 7 died despite my best efforts. The math doesn't work in my favor. The weight of survivors' guilt hung heavy in the small room. Rodriguez spoke up, still processing the impossible. The terrorist. Today, how did you identify him as a threat? His positioning was tactically wrong. Civilians don't automatically map exits and assess fields of fire. They don't conduct surveillance sweeps every 30 seconds. He was conducting final reconnaissance. You've been watching him. I've been watching everyone who enters that diner. Old habits from a previous life. She'd been providing unofficial security for 3 years, a guardian angel, protecting the protectors. They never knew she existed. Reina returned to the diner the next afternoon. Same black slacks, same white shirt, same coffee stained apron, same quiet demeanor. But everything had fundamentally changed. Every single person in the restaurant stood when she walked through the door. Veterans, active duty personnel, civilians. Even the cook came out from the kitchen. A senior SEAL approached her station with obvious reverence. Ma'am, we want to hang your photograph in our unit memorial hall alongside the other Phoenix 7 members. But if you prefer, we'll keep table 6 reserved for you. Always the young SEALs who used to tease her lined up like school children to apologize. We didn't know who you were. But even if we didn't know, we had no right to disrespect you like that. You don't apologize for not knowing my history. Reina replied calmly. You apologize for how you chose to treat another human being when you didn't know their story. The distinction hit them like a physical blow. Words spread beyond the base through military networks, veteran communities, and social media platforms. Someone leaked parts of the story, not the classified operational details, but the essence. A highly decorated special operations soldier working as a waitress prevented a terrorist attack, refused all recognition. The hashtag #table 6 started trending worldwide. Messages poured in from every continent, from people who'd been underestimated, from veterans struggling with post-service identity, from anyone who'd ever been judged by their current circumstances rather than their complete story. But Reina kept working her regular shift, still refilling coffee cups, still taking orders for burgers and fries. The difference now, when she served a table, she was serving people who understood that true heroism comes in countless forms. The diner became an unofficial gathering place for veterans, a safe space where rank didn't matter, where your story was respected. Even if it was never fully told. Table 6 became a symbol of vigilance and sacrifice. Some people carry their titles on their uniforms, others carry them silently in their hearts. Reina was a shadow operative who saved lives and disappeared into legend. But she didn't return seeking recognition or glory. She returned because quiet service was the right thing to do. Some people live without fanfare, but their actions change entire systems. Their presence makes the world safer for everyone around them. Raina doesn't want anyone to remember her name or celebrate her sacrifices, but everyone who witnessed that day will never forget the image of her standing guard at Table 6. True service isn't about medals, parades, or public recognition. It's about showing up when others need you most, regardless of whether anyone will ever know. The most important battles are often fought by people nobody notices until the moment when everything depends on their quiet courage in a world obsessed with fame and social media recognition. Raina represents something different, the quiet professional, the guardian, who asks for nothing in return except the knowledge that others are safe. Subscribe to the Ordinary Heroes. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten. Every video honors those who serve silently, those who protect without seeking praise, those who change the world one quiet act of courage at a time, because some stories are too important to lose to time.